This is the EMCO Spotlight Podcast, providing a look inside the EMCO business and around today's chemical industry. And now, here's our host, Ed Farris.
Welcome to the EMCO Spotlight. I'm Ed Farris from Next. On our first episode, we're going to take a look back at EMCO's first 50 years. And who better to do that with than Edward Polen, founder and president of EMCO Chemical Distributors. Edward, welcome, and thanks for joining us on the EMCO Spotlight.
Pleasure to be here.
So Edward, for starters, take us back to the very beginning and talk to us about how EMCO got started, please.
It's a long story, but I'll try to make it short. I went to the Massachusetts College of Pharmacy, moved to Chicago to practice pharmacy, to be with my sister and family. And then one day was at dinner with her and her family, and her next door neighbor came over and talked to me about the possibility of joining a chemical distributor, which I did. And I worked for the chemical distributor for 4 years, and then they were sold. And after they were sold, the owner came to me and suggested that maybe I was ready to start my own company. And so I went out and I started my own company. And what I did do was I started it out of my garage in Highland Park, Illinois, and I was packaging and blending windshield washer solvent and paint thinner in the garage. And then I had a friend of mine make me some sulfuric acid drain cleaner under our company's name. And I was out peddling it door to door from gas station to hardware store until I had enough business that I could afford to rent a building. And once I did that, then I went out and rented a building and then started not only selling packaged goods, but also industrial chemicals.
Edward, in 1971, when you started filling orders in that one-car garage in Highland Park, Illinois, is the EMCO today what you imagined?
Quite frankly, I had no idea what to imagine. I just wanted to start a company, and I wanted to be successful, and I wanted to make a living. So I really had no goals. I had no thoughts about what it would turn into be. I just went out and worked at it day to day, and it just, a little at a time, I realized that we were going to be successful. But at no time did I ever imagine it would be what it is today, no.
Edward, you've been in the chemical business for over 50 years. How has the business and the industry changed over that time?
It's dramatic changes. I would take hours to talk about it, but I know when I started my garage, there was no EPA, there was no agencies governing the use of chemicals. There were no material safety data sheets. There was nothing that really controlled the industry. So as time went on, the government put in controls, and that really has changed the industry a lot.
Edward, when you were first starting and growing the EMCO business, were there any moments when you stopped and thought to yourself, maybe perhaps this wasn't such a great idea? Never. I was always optimistic that we would be more successful all the time. And each time we got an opportunity, we took advantage of it. I got opportunities to hire people that I thought would help to make us successful. So I never looked back and thought that it was a wrong decision, no. So Edward, businesses face many challenges daily. Can you talk about one specific challenge that you faced at EMCO and had to overcome?
I think the biggest challenge that we had was when we first started, we had a small building, and then we continued to rent other buildings in the complex, and they were not connected. And so we would have to run our forklifts out in the yard and go from one door to another door to another door as the business grew. And finally, we were renting enough space that I figured we needed a bigger building that would all be under one roof. And there was a building up the street that was for sale, and I negotiated a deal with the seller, and we bought the building. And at the same time, we went to the city, and we told the city what we were going to do, and they gave me building permits to build out a chemical distribution facility with tanks, tank truck loading and unloading, the whole 9 yards. And so we built that out. And right before it was finished, Bhopal, India happened. And once Bhopal, India happened, then the city council and the mayor and all the dignitaries in North Chicago, Illinois, were concerned that we were building another Bhopal, India, and they refused to give me an occupancy permit.
And so it took me an awful lot of money in legal fees and a lot of time before we could actually open up and start to use the new facility. As a matter of fact, the judge said to the city, you do not have to issue an operating permit. And he also told the city that they weren't to stop me from operating there because nobody wanted to take responsibility for the permit, but they let me go ahead and do it because we had spent a significant amount of money in buying the building and then building it out. So that was quite an event that took almost a year from the time we thought we were going to move in until the time we actually moved in, and a lot of dollars in legal fees. So that was the biggest hurdle that I can think of as I sit here right now, Ed.
Yeah. Thanks, Edward. So, every day there are surprises in a business. Has there been one positive surprise that came up unexpectedly?
Well, there were a couple of surprises. I started out as EM Company, and after we were in business for, I don't know, it was 10 or 12 years, the pharmaceutical company, Merck Sharp and Dohme, who have the letters EM as a trademark, they came to me and said to me, you can't use EM any longer in your name because we have to trademark protect it. So they told me I had to change our name. And so we were using the logo EM Company or EMCO. So I just decided to change it to EMCO. And then I decided I would put the name Chemical Distributors on so that people would know what EM or EMCO was doing. And this was right after Polen had happened. And of course, everybody suggested that I don't do it, but being me, I didn't listen, and I thought that was the right thing to do. So I went and changed the name to EMCO Chemical Distributors, and I think that was one of the best things that I did, because now when we put it on our truck, people knew who we were, people knew what EMCO was, and it brought some customers and some suppliers to us, which I had not known about. So that was a very pleasant surprise when I did that, yes. Other than that, I mean, things just kept moving right along. We were very fortunate that we had salesmen who decided they'd like to come to work at EMCO. We just put together a nice team, a nice staff, and eventually it became a team, and it's been a team ever since. Because you can't build a business with one individual or two. It is a team effort, and we definitely have a team here.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Thanks for that. Moving forward, Edward, often in business there are missed opportunities or something you would have done differently. Is there something that bothers you most? And if there is, what's the most important takeaway that came from that?
As EMCO was growing, we had a lot of competition. We had competitors in every city, in every major city. And for me to think to expand to another city where there are already distributors there, and with a limited number of suppliers supporting us, suppliers are very interesting, because once they've got a distributor in a town, they don't want to set up a second or a third. So we had to be patient, and I never really went out and acquired another distributor in another town. And that might be the only thing that I can think of that maybe I should have tried to do many, many years ago. Now, as the industry has changed, a lot of the specialty manufacturers are interested in having you have a bigger footprint. And so now we've kind of organically expanded without acquiring anybody, and that's worked very, very well. So we've hired different salesmen in different locations, and we're doing very well without having had to buy another distributor. However, I don't know, it was 10, 11, 12 years ago, one of our competitors had a packaging company down in Columbia, Illinois, and they really weren't into the packaging business per se. They were more focused on the distribution business. And they called me and asked me if we would consider acquiring it. And so we did make that acquisition, which was great, because being in packaging in North Chicago and having only one location, some of our customers were concerned that if something happened to us here, that we didn't have any backup. So that gave us a second location to do our work, and that opened up some more business from some of our existing customers. And then I don't know how many years ago it was, we had an opportunity to buy a distributor up in Canada. and we took a chance on that, and we did that, and that's also been a successful acquisition too. So I think not making acquisitions a little earlier was probably something we missed out on, but I can't complain because we still done very, very well, and I'm happy where we are today.
So Edward, in wrapping up, what's been your favorite moment or maybe your fondest memory over the last 50 years at EMCO that you can share with us?
Well, I think, quite frankly, 50 years has become one fond moment, because there are so many things that have happened, but there are two things that I think I can talk about. Number one is I became a member of the National Association of Chemical Distributors in my second year of business, and it was also their second year of having the NACD, and I got to meet a lot of wonderful folks in the industry, and we would go to meetings, and we would share our issues, and we would share our solutions to the issues, and we just had a lot of fun, and it was a great organization. And as it grew, it became more sophisticated. We brought in some of the suppliers to the meetings, and the meetings became more focused and not just a social event, but a real business opportunity for all of us to gain experience and to gain knowledge. But I think that probably, as I look back, my fondest memory is a 50-year memory of assembling the team that we have put together today at EMCO. Because as I sit back and reflect, I never expected EMCO to grow to the size it is today. And as I look back and see why did it get to where we are, I can only think of all the people that we were able to bring into EMCO to help run the company, and that to me has got to be my fondest memory of one huge family of over 600 people that have made us successful in the distribution and packaging business that we are today. So I have to say that it's the team. I think of all the people that have been with us, and how few have left us, which is another nice thing, and then the few who have left us and then decided to come back. So those are some of the things that happen that are really exciting when that happens. So I suppose that's what I would share with you.
Edward, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us and give us that look back at the first 50 years of the EMCO business. And thanks to all of you for listening as well. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to you joining us again on another edition of the EMCO Spotlight. I'm Ed Farris. So long.